Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of He Said, She Said, They Said, a real discussion on real estate in Victoria with...
Hi, it's Andrew Plank, co-host of He Said, She Said, They Said with Jane Johnson. Hey, how's everybody doing this fine day?
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right.
How was your week in real estate? I always like that question because I'm interested to know how other people's business is going.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy week talking to people about selling their homes, a little bit more than I think in the past. Some people getting really actively ready to do that. And a number of offers bandying about. Sold one of my listings, bully offer, well above asking price. Clients decided to work with that. Yeah, and then of course writing multiple offers and losing. And hoping to win, working out strategies, and you do what you can.
Yep. So I listed a place that was pink and purple. We got an offer right off the bat, and very glad of that actually. And lots of interest in it because there's no inventory on the market.
Pink and purple, inside or out?
Inside.
Okay. Yeah.
And listing a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse today. Sorry, I was like 2 or 3. And it is...
This is the Vic West one.
No, this is the pink and purple one was in Vic West. The Brittany one is in Colwood. So that's right. 2-bedroom, 2-bath seniors.
Yeah, that's a nice complex. Yeah, good. That's a nice listing.
Yeah, and it's flexible, like master bedroom on the main or master bedroom up, which I find is good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Have some sellers, you sometimes have sellers who are, reconsidering their listing if things aren't going as planned, and that's always a little, frustrating for everyone. And got to try to remember to remind people why they're selling in the first place, and the goal in mind. So that's always interesting too. But yeah, it's anyway. So you're having a good week. I'm having a good week. It's all a good week. Had a networking group meeting on Friday with a number of colleagues. We have a group that was meeting regularly. We took a break over the summer, so we sort of had our one of our first meetings again as we're getting going again. And everyone's saying how it's been a really busy summer, but it looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of listings coming up this fall. So that's good news, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. So you want to get your listings up sooner rather than later?
It's still a hot market. So if you want to not be part of, I don't know when we'll see lost in the crowd kind of inventory of listings, but certainly even if a number of listings of a certain category come up and it splits the attention of the buyers. This is what just actually happened with one of my listings and why we got the bully offer was we were looking at offers Monday. The plan had been to look at offers tonight. And these buyers were really interested in our property, but they had a number of other options available to make offers on for Sunday. And they didn't know what to do because they would rather buy ours. So do they make offers Sunday? And if they get it, anyway, so this is why they did the bully offer. But, with more selection, it's going to split those buyers up a little bit more, and they will be having a harder time deciding on which one do they actually go for on offer day.
Meredith from Las Vegas, who I met a few years ago, is asking us, is our market as tight as Vegas is, meaning new build homes are mostly lottery style, being able to get a new build? We are so far out on new builds now that they're actually not releasing them anymore right now.
We don't have a lot of new. Yeah, we're really low on inventory. I wouldn't say it's a lottery system yet, though. If a new development comes out, it is generally, marketed and open. But sometimes there are pre-releases, to realtors, realtor clients, and all that stuff, as is normal.
So actually, Meredith, there was 3 houses that were released in an area near where I live in Royal Bay, and which is in the West Shore. And this area is all new construction. It's being developed in the past 5 years. and the listing realtor decided to release all three. They were priced differently. Usually they would just notify the database and people would bring in their offer and be first come, first serve. And so they did do a lottery there. And one went into multiple offers. The other two did not, which was interesting. But they were over $1 million. Okay, let's look at the market and then we'll talk about our discussion topic today. So new listings, 205 and pending 189. I've been telling people it feels like the market's slowing to me, more normal. Price decreases 32 over the past week. Price increases 7, back on market 2 and sold. So this is deals that happened 6 weeks ago, 213. So so just even if you look at pending versus sold, we're down a little bit. Just it seems to me to be slowing. But anyway, what do you think?
I think it's slowing a little bit. And my take on this is, I think of it like an airplane that's going up, trying to get, higher and higher up into the stratosphere. It gets harder and harder to get lift as the higher up you go. Our market is finding a harder time. I think the support of the buyers has reached, the lift from all the buyers has reached its capacity. It's kind of, the buyers have reached the point where I can't lift this market any further. They want to, because prices are pretty high and they want to be able to buy, but they just can't go. So that market value price has kind of reached the point where it's not going to, I think we're reaching plateau. I think
so too.
Equilibrium.
Which will mean a more balanced market.
Yeah. And more inventory coming on market, more balanced, as people list their homes at prices that they can sort of consistently understand that this is kind of where the value is, as opposed to, and it still is somewhat, a little, I have buyers all the time telling me, what should I offer on a property that is obviously underpriced? And I just have to tell them it's, I think this is where it'll go, but it could go anywhere if there's, a unicorn buyer out there who's willing to pay more than market. But they're getting less and less. So month to month. So we just did the stats for the last week, and now we're going to do the month to date. So we're September 20th. And so last September, for the full month, there was 989 unconditional sales. We're on the 20th, so we're 2/3 into the month, and there's only 454. So, 2/3 through the month, only half the sales of last year. 616 new listings so far, as opposed to 1,294 last September. Again, those numbers are pretty much a good split of half from last year, and yet we're 2/3 into the month. And then active listings, again, just about equally half of last year. And we've been sticking around this just sub 1,200 listings now for a number of shows, a number of weeks as we're talking about this. And again, really highly low inventory.
And so, I find it interesting that we do this every week because it does give you insight, don't you find? Like, I'll say, oh yeah, you really know your numbers.
You're starting to see trends, or if there is a difference, it's noticeable. Yeah. And
also, I think we're comparing apples to oranges because last year was an orange year and that we're probably more a normal apple year. So generally the market does bump up a bit in the fall, but not to the point that it does in the spring. So last year what happened was the market bumped up in July and it was like very high all the way to November. So it was an unusual year.
So when you're saying, because we were just saying how low the inventory is, which, it's not an apple year in the sense of, you said a normal year, but in the sense of what the trends are happening of, we tend to see a trend of high inventory coming up in the spring and a lot of buyers in the spring and starting to slow in the summer and then another trend in this fall of upwards again. That's what you're talking about, right? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. It makes sense in my head.
I know. Everything makes sense to us when we're saying
it. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that we're comparing all our sales to last year, which was a banner year. Mm-hmm. And it's not normal. So I think we're more normal. However, our inventory is low. And I do have clients right now, like, they're like, why should we even write an offer? We're not going to get it. I'm like, you don't get it if you don't try.
Yeah.
And I posted this thing on the weekend, a quote. It said, I'm torn between if it's meant to me, it's meant to be, and to basically just go for it. And I'm like, just go for it. And if it's meant to be, it'll be.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take some self-responsibility for that whole, like we can create our own reality and the whole idea of attraction, of, power of attraction. You can't just say, well, it'll just come to me. You still have to take some positive action. If you want something, the world needs you to invest in that. And it means sometimes, I was just using this talk about, stopping 3 feet from gold. The miner who's been mining for years and years in this mine, and eventually gets old and gives up and says, I'm not getting anywhere, can't find any gold, and leaves it and sells it to some young buck who comes in and starts digging, and that day finds that 3 feet away there was a big mother lode. And not that you want to spend your lifetime for this. Yeah, Meredith says, always go for it, submit the offer, otherwise you will always lose out.
Yeah, and it's true.
You miss 100% of the swings you don't take.
Yeah. And it's funny. I've had clients who said to me, I definitely don't want to go into multiple offer. I'm multiple offered out or whatever. And I say, just trust me. I'm very good at winning these. We have a strategy, and we'll utilize the strategy to get you to win this offer. And
I hear that, and I agree with you. Strategy is really helpful in having good strategy and having good relationship with your colleagues. But if your buyers are consistently under, hoping to, if they just can't reach what the market is worth, or consistently undercutting and hoping that if they continue to write, that the law of averages will win out for them, then that's probably wrong thinking. But if they are writing good offers and they just keep missing out just by a little bit, or they're making actually reasonable offers, and these unicorn buyers are knocking them out, they aren't always going to be there. I've seen many times when I'm reviewing offers that you didn't get those amazing unicorn offers, but you've got a really good offer from a willing buyer, and it gets taken.
So actually, well, that kind of segues well into our topic today, which is why people sell their homes and what their different motivations are. So
we maybe take into account with those.
Right. So when, I used to think letters, they're okay, until I was the recipient of a letter when my mom sold, and I got it
You were crying, weren't you?
What?
Were you crying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, some letters just really speak to, a truly well-written letter that is actually truly from the heart will speak to the other party, depending on their motivation. This goes into what we're talking about today, because people sell for lots of different reasons, and some of those reasons may not make any difference that there's a letter there.
Okay, so Meredith is saying client mindset is critical, but I've always taken the time for client education. Exactly. And that's my perspective, and Andrew's as well, I'm sure. So what do you tell your clients to look for when we're going through a house, viewing a property? And I look for certain things. Do you?
Okay, well, we're talking about a number of, when we're talking about client motivation, one of the things I'm definitely looking for in general, floor plan, condition, location, all those standards, and try to keep your client's mind around what are their priorities. But the other thing we're also looking for is, what can we intuit from what we're seeing in this house? Can we tell that these people have cared actually about their house in general and loved it? And in what way have they loved it? Was it loved up until recently, no longer loved because you're noticing that maybe, one half of the closet is empty, or, pictures, only pictures of only one part of the family are on the walls, or, what is going on here? What's the backstory? Because it makes a difference on a number of levels to, number one, not just the negotiation, but what are you going to get at the end of the day? Is this property going to be cleaned? for the buyers when they move in because these people have loved and cared about their home, or do they just not care and are dealing with their own problems, whether it's a divorce or or some sort of mental health issue or something like that. So we're always kind of looking between the lines. So that's where you're going with this, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly why staging works, because it kind of this is gonna, pardon?
It cleans that up. It takes that layer out of it.
Well, okay. So, for instance, I'm selling a property, and the sellers had way too much stuff in it, and so they were going into a care home, and so we divided the stuff in the property into 3 categories. So, 1 to stay for the sale, 1 to go to the new place, and 1 for garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because the stager was able to look at it and say, okay, here's the list of what we're going to do. And then just before the house was about to go on the market, somebody else came in, a relative, and just started cleaning out everything. And I'm like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, it's so much easier because we have the people here now. And I'm like, I would like to you to keep the stuff because I am going to be using it for staging. And the relatives didn't see the big picture. Mm-hmm. And so I went in and I'm like, okay, well, what can I, because half of the stuff was gone. What can I do? And so essentially what I did was organize a picture so that they were even just on, like, hung properly and evenly spaced around the room, and put the like a table on each side of the couch, and just to kind of make vignettes in the house so that it would look like somebody was still living there. Because what happens is, if you empty out a house, everybody thinks they're like, first of all, they can't visualize living there. And also they're looking at all the little nooks and crannies and they see like all the holes in the walls, as opposed to they do react to how it's staged. So I think the staging does 2 things. Like, one is, if you are going through a divorce or whatever, it's to your advantage and probably your partner's advantage to have some of their clothes still in the closet, because you want to show how a family would live there. And you don't want to give away your motivation.
Yeah, so there's 2 elements to that whole idea of staging and the person's impression as they come through the home. One is, what story are you telling them about who you are? And then what story are they reading about how they can live there? And so when you're telling them who you are, it's going to impact their offers. They might feel like these people haven't cared for their home very well. And so I have a 3-strike rule. You go into a home, and if you see, some door is a little loose on a jar or something, that some care hasn't been taken, just even in getting the property ready for sale, and then something else you find that's a little bit wonky, and then you find a third thing, you're like, suddenly you and your buyers are saying, what else are we going to find here? And what is the inspection going to find? But what else are we going to find, as opposed to someone who's just always lived and cared for that home? But staging helps to kind of sanitize that and hide some of those things. Not just staging, but that whole idea of the property preparation. You want to remove these questions because most homes are great homes, but you don't want people to start thinking about things that they shouldn't be, that aren't relevant to the purchase overall.
Yeah.
In this market, an empty home that's not staged versus a staged home, both are going to sell. And there's some argument that, well, what's the point of a realtor? Everything sells. But the point of the realtor is to help it sell faster and for more money. Everything sells, but you can still eke out another $20, $30, $50, $100,000, by following and taking the right advice and making all the right decisions that all add up.
So I have a great example, and I actually bought the house myself. So I went into this house and it was a long time ago. And the house had a smell in the basement. the feedback from all the buyers that I was taking through was that, well, I can't get by the smell. The smell stinks. Oh my God, I can't. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, I realized that it was I kept saying, I think it's a young man who lives in the basement who, he's a teenager. And I would, I said, I know we're all responding to this, but once the teenager moves out, there won't be the smell anymore.
Yeah.
People are like, no, sorry, I just can't do it. And so anyway, I have a listing recently where they had a young man in the basement, same thing, it smelled. And I'm like, I said to the, sorry, there's a comment here. I said to the seller, I think just when these people move out, just clean the walls, paint them, and replace the carpet, and it's just going to make a huge, huge difference in the way this is presenting. And sure enough, as soon as this young man moved out, all of a sudden we have people who are interested in it. And anyway, in the place a few years ago, I ended up buying, and sure enough, like no smell. So it just makes a huge difference. Just freshening it up makes a huge difference.
Yeah, true. So it's subtle, but smell is a really, really powerful motivator for a lot of people. And even if you're not, like, I don't have a great sense of smell, but you still unconsciously pick things up and you get an impression of a home based on that. Yeah. What was the comment? Did we have a comment?
The comment is, do either of you have a neutral party walk through a home you were listing to have all of the little issues that need to be addressed that might not have been caught by you as a listing agent? And I would say,
yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple, Jane, I'm sure you do too. I don't work, I mean, we hire stagers. Our sellers will hire stagers directly if they're working with stagers, and we have people we can recommend. But I have a couple of different people that are interior designers that I have come in, and they do a 1-hour consult with my clients. And it makes a big difference. I mean, I will give them my standard declutter, and clean. Like those are the two things I want to see you doing mainly. And I will suggest moving things and this and that. But then I will defer to the folks that come in and do their own work. But often, I don't know if you find, Jane, often people say, you know what, I've got a great sense of style and I don't need your stager. I'm like, I think you do, but they won't necessarily listen. And my, I will advise, but I'm not going to push people in unless it's a really major deal to make a decision other than they feel. I will advise, I will strongly advise, but if they don't want to take that advice, that's up to them. So definitely deal with homes that are not
well, so after I get the listing, I recommend that they meet with the stager. It's up to them to take their advice for sure. Yeah. And I say, this person is my secret weapon. There's a reason why I always go back to her. She gets it done. She'll tell you exactly what needs to be done. You are living in your place. She is getting your house ready for selling.
It's a different, you living in your home is very different than creating that lifestyle that people, when they come in, we don't want people to see how you live in the house. We want people to see how they could live in the house.
Yeah. So we were talking about writing offers based on what you can deduce. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you'll go into a house and there'll be military clothing. It'll be spring and the commission will be a certain commission. And so that it's a military move and they're probably motivated to move in 8 weeks or whatever. And so you can write the offer, and I think that's more transactional than emotional.
Yeah. Whereas if you go into a home and you can tell that, first time on market in 45 years, it says in the listing, and you go into the home and there's not been a lot of updates perhaps over the years, but you can say in terms of the interior decor, but they've really cared for the home. It's got a great roof on it and the newer windows perhaps and a new furnace. These people have cared about the fundamentals. And they cared about their home and they've cared about their yard, but maybe in the last few years they've let it go a little bit because they've gotten a little older. The neighbor's been helping them out. These people are integrated in their community and they want to know who is going to be buying their home. They want to know that whoever buys their home is not necessarily going to be an investor bringing in a bunch of renters that are going to make the neighbors uncomfortable, or the house or this beautiful landscaping is going to be falling apart. So these new owners, these new owners would be well advised to write a nice letter and talk about how they are already integrated in the neighborhood or are going to, and what they love about the home, and how it's going to be a forever home for them for 45 years, if that's true. And I've been on the receiving end of offers where, I think I've mentioned this before, but we were looking at multiple offers on a property, and one of the agents came in and said, my client's an investor and he's got cash and it's great, and there's going to be no issues with this offer. And I was there with the son and the mother reviewing offers. They were going to be moving across the street, and they just didn't want an investor.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny selling the house next door to me. I'm really choosing my neighbor, and we had 12 offers, and you want to be able to differentiate the offers for the seller did anyway. But and really nice people moved in, thank goodness. But one of the buyers was I found out after, was going to backfill the yard with rocks, and right where our view is overlooking the city. And I'm like, I'm so glad that person didn't get it.
Right. And you may not have any way of knowing that in advance, but when you can get a better sense by reading the letters. But then going back to, so in this, again, we keep talking about things it's sometimes hard not to talk about things as if it's the strategy that works right now. But when you think the broader term where, we've worked through and lived through markets where properties might list and be on market for 3 months, and that's a reasonable amount of time. Well, let's say 2 months. And it's not unreasonable for that amount of time for a property to be on market before you end up with an offer. And so you might be listing a home, and maybe it is a divorce, and maybe these people are highly motivated, and an agent comes through and can see that with their clients. And then they write a really offer really quickly, but it's also very, very low, because they can tell that there's some motivation to just get this thing done, perhaps.
Well, I also, when a buyer asks, why is the seller selling? We have a duty of confidentiality, and so we cannot say why they're selling, but really what the buyer is trying to determine is, what is the problem with the place? Why they're moving out of this situation? What's going on here?
Yes.
And so we I talk with sellers. What do you want me to say before?
Yeah, sometimes it's helpful for the buyers to understand what the situation is, and with the seller's permission, you can maybe share that. So if a property is being resold after it was just bought a year ago, what's the problem with that property? The buyers are going to be saying, why are these people moving so quickly? If they understand that there's maybe a health issue, if you could just say it's a personal issue, it has nothing to do with the house.
Or it could be a job relocation or whatever.
Yeah. So,
and I find that after people write anyway, the seller usually says to me, just tell them this, whatever. Tell them, like, here's the situation. I don't have to sell. I'm not going to give it away.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, there's that too. But the point, and there's definitely many, many times where it is really important to keep all of that absolutely 100%, 200% confidential, where there's a situation that is, not anyone else's business. And most times it is nobody else's business. But then the business of selling a home partly is about information.
Yeah, they want to know if there's a problem with the house. That's essentially, and they also want to know, like, are they willing to move fast? So sometimes you can put wording in your verbiage in your listings, like move in quickly or whatever, quick possession available. These sorts of things say they reveal the seller's motivation with their permission.
Sometimes you're going through a home and you can tell, it even says on the title, it's in the name of the executor, or it's the estate of so-and-so. And so, this is being sold as an estate. There's going to have to be an executor or executors or families involved in the decision. But there's somebody there cleaning out the house and having to deal with all of the stuff that's left behind from a person's life or people's life. And I've seen some, and this goes to, like, if you understand what is being sold and why, you might craft your offer a little differently, with maybe saying, we understand that that there's a lot of stuff inside this house, that this person has maybe been a hoarder or collector over the years, and is now gone. And we're willing to take it as it is. We're willing to take it with all the contents inside. If it's easier for you, you take whatever personal items you want, whatever items of value you want. We will take the home, other than that, with all the clothes in it and all the Christmas ornaments and all of that stuff. We'll deal with it. Nothing you have to worry about. And the executor sometimes will be really happy and accept an offer that is similar or equivalent, or even sometimes less than another offer, because they see the value in being able to move on.
Yeah, we did that when we bought our house. We just said, leave whatever. We didn't have any furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So we just said, leave whatever furniture and we'll take care of it. And they were like, yes, because they're moving into a condo.
Yeah. And in a different market where you can actually, again, negotiate, I find in this market, we're really trying to gather as much information as we can in order to provide the best, most compelling offer for the sellers. We are going to still do a lot of different negotiating, but we're really trying to find the information that will entice a seller to say yes to our offer and make it more attractive than others. In a different market where there's maybe more selection of homes available, and sellers are really hoping for a buyer, and a buyer comes along to make an offer, that buyer may see this home as not well lived in, maybe tenanted or dirty. In that case, you can kind of anticipate that the owners on possession day, the new owners, might find a dirty home. And so writing into the contract that, this junk will be removed, we're going to have a holdback if it's not, you're going to get it professionally cleaned. These are all things that we're going to try to anticipate based on what we know of the sellers or the occupants of that house.
And I've been working with a realtor. I was mentoring the realtor. I didn't see the house. She wrote an offer, and she did not write that clause in. And so we arrived there, and the whole basement was filled with junk.
Yep.
And the listing agent refused to take responsibility for it. Mm-hmm. We ended up having to get a truck and literally shovel the stuff out. So, and even though I was mentoring the other realtor, I was doing stuff. So there's something to be said about working with an experienced realtor so that you don't end up in that situation. I've done a $20,000 holdback, whereas the junk wasn't removed. The seller didn't get the money, and that worked. And he was supposed to have it out like a week before, and he didn't have it out on time, and so we had the holdback, and then the day of, he did get it all out.
Dealt with, yeah. So how a holdback works, folks, is you generally write something in that the proceeds of the sale are held back and held by the lawyer, and subject to something happening or not happening. And so the holdback could be, I've had 3-year holdbacks where if a special assessment by a strata is voted on, because we could tell that maybe they needed new decks all outside, and they've been talking about it, but nothing had actually been voted on. And my clients were concerned about a big special assessment being hit with them in the first few years of ownership. So we actually were able to write in a holdback for that when we were negotiating on this particular condo complex out in Souk. And so these are many different reasons for doing a holdback, but they're not, doesn't mean that the person loses their $20,000, for example, if nothing happens. But if there's costs, then you can go to the lawyer and say, this costs were what I incurred, please reimburse me. And then once things are finally settled and signed off, the remainder goes back to the seller.
Yeah. And that often, so clauses like that, special clauses like that also are easier to negotiate in a slower market.
Yes. Again, in a slower market, they're definitely easier to negotiate. They can also be useful in overcoming problems, though, that maybe it's causing people to write lower offers in general, but you can write a higher offer with a holdback to say, I'm I'm willing to pay more money as long as this particular risk is overcome with this holdback. And so you're sharing the risk with the seller. So
Yeah, you're mitigating it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing is, it's like I find first-time buyers, often you're trying to educate them on what you're seeing in the house, and what is, important, what's not important.
Mhm.
Often people are responding to how they feel when they go into a house. So temperature, even of the floor, is important. Like if you have heated tile floors in the bathroom, turn the heat up a bit
Yeah.
so that we can perceive it.
Yes.
And smell, visual, which is what everybody focuses on. That's why we do the photos and the videos. And then also, even the furnishings that you use. So I had a condo recently that was listed with very good agents, and the seller, I guess, didn't really want to change things up. And so I went in and I said, you know what, I remember showing your place, and this was my client's response. And I really think we need to stage it. And we ended up taking out some artwork that was a bit particular to his. What?
Okay. Edgy. Had it.
Yeah.
A little edgy. Okay.
And there was this awful brown couch, and it was kind of like floating in the middle of the living room. So anyway, we brought the stager through, and she just changed everything up, and you wouldn't believe how many people were interested in this condo.
It can make a big difference. Yeah.
So I said, so he said to me, I'm just going to listen to what you say. I trust you. I was like, well, he was,
Yeah, that's
anyway.
that's really interesting. Once you have someone's trust and they understand that you are looking after their best interests and you've proven yourself, they're going to hopefully trust you with the rest of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he spent $2,500 on staging, which he was like, I don't know. And then we listed it $22,000 higher, and it sold $14,000 over that.
Right. Not a bad return on investment.
He was very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
Trust the professionals. By the way, in Seattle, they take out all of their furniture and they stage every home, and people move out of the house.
Really? Yeah. Well, that makes it easy to show and makes it show very well. I mean, it is important to have a good stager. I mean, stagers they are professionals, but they do come in different. I mean, you can get different levels of staging, let's put it that way, I would say. And you want the staging to match up the home. You don't want staging that is over the top on a home that is not. I always think that you're trying to create a lifestyle. And as I said before, you want people to see, go into a home and understand how they could live in it. And it needs to be realistic.
Meredith is becoming our top fan.
Yeah. Keep the comments coming.
Okay, so anything else?
I had something, but it's gone. So we both got lots of work to do. We can let this go. Anybody got?
I would say one thing that people maybe should focus on that they don't is clean your appliances in your kitchen.
Yes. Clean everything.
Especially the oven.
Yeah. Well, it goes into both smell and cleanliness. And people do look inside of these things, and they're going to get a sense again of what they're going to expect. People don't want to buy a place that they're going to move into and then have to clean again, or feel like it's just not been well cared for, or they feel moldy. I've seen people walk into homes that have, older aluminum windows. They're double paned, but, they tend to weep a little bit and get a little moisture, and then a little bit of mold grows in the little grooves between. And it's not uncommon to see it, but I've had buyers walk away from homes where they've said, wait, they've seen that and felt like, well, this home is full of mold. And to me, it's a cleaning issue, but to them, it's a health and safety issue. Yes. Yeah.
Agreed. Also, yeah, and what you have in your fridge is important too. If you have one tub of yogurt and a dozen beers, it doesn't bode well.
Yeah, people shouldn't be looking through your drawers, but they will look through your fridge. They will open it up. They want to see what's inside. They want to see how the shelves are. They want to understand. And again, they're going to get an impression. So everything goes into the subtleties of what is the message that people are getting from seeing your home. And it's a lot going on there. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. So anyway, I would say it's definitely worth it to work with somebody who's going to guide you well in this process.
So back to the staging piece, and we've both had people walk into homes and they concentrate on the wrong things, which is why maybe the edgy art has to go off the walls. But they walk through the home, and I've been with clients recently, they're walking through the home and you have to reorient them, because they're looking at all the nitpicky things, but they haven't actually looked at the floor plan itself, if it actually works for them. Why are we spending an hour taking this? We're not there for an hour, but why are we spending all this time pulling this house apart when in the end of the day, it's not even going to work for them? Let's figure out the big picture stuff, and then let's deal with the small stuff. But people come in and they start to just focus on these small items, and staging and cleaning and all the proper preparation can help guide someone through your home. And hopefully their agent also will help to orient them around what's important. And if there are issues that need to be overcome, like cleanliness or something, they'll discuss how that can be dealt with in an offer or in negotiations, or just being prepared when you move in to hire professional cleaners to deal with it. But these are all things that we can overcome, but they just need to be addressed and recognized and addressed.
Yeah. And also, if you like the house, just write the offer.
Yeah. Shoot first and ask questions later. You do have an opportunity if you have conditions in your offer.
Yeah, this is the wrong market for people who are asking a lot of questions, because it turns the seller off a bit. But like in a regular market, you can ask a lot of questions. But that's what your inspection clauses are for. So sometimes it's better just to write the offer, get I call it a placeholder, and nobody else can submit an offer, and then go for it.
Unless the seller has their own clause in the contract, there's language in the contract that says the seller's acceptance is irrevocable, and it's subject to the buyer's waiving or fulfilling their own conditions. And your conditions are there for your protection to ask those questions. But what Jane's saying is oftentimes, let's say when we're wearing our listing agent hat, or when we're working with buyers and we know that there's going to be a lot of competition on this home, and the buyers are asking questions that the seller is going to be saying, you know what, this person's asking a lot of questions, but I don't think they have confidence in my home. I don't think they trust what this home is. And it sounds like maybe if they write an offer that's still subject to a building inspection, they're going to, at that time, still have many, many more questions and perhaps walk away based on their obvious discomfort and their obvious nervousness. So we don't want to broadcast any of that nervousness in advance if we can help it. So I generally ask people, if you have questions, let's not pepper people with questions, either all at once if we can, or the other idea is, if there's not a date for review of offers, why are you going to think about it overnight to make your offer when the people who were also considering making an offer the day before were thinking about it overnight, and they're writing today, and you're going to not get it tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, I often, in a regular market, I would say to somebody, yes, you can think about it, but it's probably going to cost you money, because sometimes I'm able to get a client in on a property that's listed, let's say it's listed at noon, and we get in at 5 o'clock, we write the offer, and it gets accepted by 7.
Right.
And then the next day is when all the other people are starting to show and notice it and stuff like that. And I say, well, in a regular market, if you want to wait, that's fine. It is going to cost you money, because all of a sudden now you're in multiple offers. So you can't go in at asking or slightly below asking. And you're going to have to now go at least to asking.
It's hard because we've seen it all, and our buyer clients haven't. They don't do this very often. And so understanding some of this urgency, which we are feeling on their behalf, is a little bit, they feel, oh, that agent's pushy. And I've had this conversation where, I mean, I am not known as a pushy agent. I'm someone who, I'm somebody who, pushy. I said pushy. Come back to me, Jane. Come back. Come back. Okay. Anyway, so, you know, I tend to give pretty clear advice, but I don't want to push people beyond their comfort zone. But at the same time, sometimes people need to be told your decision. You need to really think about this.
Yeah. And then the other thing people say, if they get an offer accepted, they go, "Do you think we paid too much?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we got in there before everybody else, and the agent's telling me if you want to walk away, you can. So that means they have a lineup of people wanting to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know if you paid too much, but you, generally speaking, if you take the right avenues and do the right things, on average, you're going to do better by, you know, that shoot first, ask questions later. That's not to say don't ask questions. It just means you have an opportunity to ask them after the fact. Let's tie this property up and get the seller beholden to you.
Yeah.
And again, you know, you can sometimes read between the lines when you go through these homes, and you can see that these people maybe are wanting a quick sale, and you can get in and solve the angst that they're having about, am I going to get my home sold, or you know, I need to make other plans, or I need to pay off some debts. You can get in there and solve those problems for them quickly, which means that your clients will probably benefit from that fast and decisive action.
Yeah, I had a client who we missed out on a lot of offers, and actually it's a good thing because the houses weren't that great. It was last spring, and then early in the summer we saw a property that was perfect for them, really, really perfect. And so they're like, well, I said offers are on Wednesday, and they said, well, let's write the offer right now. I'm like, okay, we write the offer. And it turns out, after we found out, so we wrote this bully offer, and we were above asking, but not terrible. And we were within what else had been sold in the area. Mm-hmm. So market value was right on. Mm-hmm. And the sellers met with us after, and they said, you know, we just want to tell you thank you for writing that offer, because we had written a bully offer on a property in Ottawa, and we needed to get our house sold, and we were really stressed. And then your offer came in, and so we just took it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know that.
No, but it was a benefit to them to accept your offer really quickly. They were under the gun for a quick sale. Absolutely. Yeah, we don't always know. We can't always read between the lines on the motivations. I've seen many times, and like you and I have both observed and worked with many, many people over the years. 15 years in business, we've done hundreds of transactions. And I can tell you, as someone who, when I was a first-time buyer, you know, before I was in real estate, I was really cautious, and I asked all those questions, and I was probably a realtor's worst nightmare. And I have observed and learned that those people who are decisive tend to do better than those people who wait around and think, okay, the market's going to crash tomorrow, or I need to be extra careful. It's absolutely important to be careful. It's absolutely important to answer all these questions and do your due diligence. But do you front load them or back load them, and how aggressive are you? And I found that the people who are aggressive and assertive and decisive is the main piece. They're the ones who tend to be more successful in life in general, and in making these offers and getting them succeeded. And the people who are less decisive, the market continues to go up and they get bowed out of the market. They continue to rent, or they buy properties because they're so careful. They end up buying properties that are the wrong properties for them. Somehow they're so careful that they end up, what do they call it? Paralysis by analysis.
Analysis paralysis, yeah.
So it happens. It's a real thing. And so there is something to be said for trusting the process. It doesn't mean that every realtor is going to give you amazing advice or not try to, you know, we want, a good realtor is going to want what's best for you and try to help you understand your own motivations, what you're looking for, try to understand the seller's motivations, and then try to marry that all up into an offer and a contract that's the best of all the worlds to bring everything together.
By the way, I know how many listings you sold since you started your career. Do you want the answer?
Did you just look that up?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was hoping that's not something you just happen to know.
I just looked it up. Do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
347.
347 listings. Yay! Okay. And so then, and I've tended to work with probably as many or more buyers. So that's, about 7.
That's listings and sales.
Really? That's it? Okay.
I think that's pretty good.
Sure. Fair enough. It is. It is. How about you, Jane? You've probably got me, I'm going to say 1,200.
What were you? 347?
350. So you're probably at 600. Jane tends to do more business than I do. We're not flexing on each other, by the way.
616.
What did I tell you?
That's pending and sold.
Excellent. Well done. Congratulations.
And I do, by the way, I do keep track because I don't keep track of other people. I keep track of myself because I just want to know where I'm at. But anyway, Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so Meredith says, as a soon-to-be seller, all this information is what I already know as a realtor, but it's great to be reminded from a seller's point of view. Absolutely. Yes. And listen to your realtor, Meredith. Okay. All right, everybody. So we're here every Monday morning at 10 a.m. We'd love for you to come and join us. I have requested that you please subscribe. There we go. To our YouTube channels. Follow us on social media. And don't forget, if you have questions, please let us know so that we can deal with them. We would love to know how we can help you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Hey, what happened to our big subscribe button? I liked that button.
Oh, I still got it. Hold on a second. There we go. Boom.
Yeah, there you go. That's my favorite part of the show. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Jane,
okay,
we'll reach you if we want to talk to you.
Oh, sorry. I forgot that. Okay, so if you want to talk to us, you can, hold on. I'm in the wrong thing.
Jane's number is 250-744. I actually forgot. 0775. There you go. And you can reach her at the Briar Hill Group at gmail.com. And she's got 2 websites, briarhillgroup.com, which is real estate related, and VancouverIslandTime.com if you're wanting to know area information. How'd I do there, Jane? Awesome.
And if you want to reach Andrew, you can reach him at, I've memorized this number, 360-6106. At info@andrewplank.com, or you can go to andrewplank.com and watch really cool videos of Andrew working with clients.
Yep.
See you later, everybody. Bye.
Can't work. Hands can't work.